Our next presenters are John, Elise, and Elise Russ, owners, chefs. Yes, come on. Round it up. What are we doing? What are we doing? John and Elise Russ are the husband and wife team. I know, there's a lot of these. Behind Clementine and globally inspired restaurant located in the Castle Hills neighborhood. John, a 2023 James Beard Awards finalist, honed his craft in fine dining after studying at Delgado Culinary in New Orleans. Elise, yeah, I know, right? Elise, a pastry chef trained at Johnson & Wales University in Providence. Worked in top kitchens across the U.S. and London. Passionate about sustainability, industry advocacy, and community, they balance running a restaurant with raising their 3 children. Let's give it up for the next duo.
I'm supposed to say hi and thank you for all the wonderful things that you do for us as a society. What's great is we really can't see you right now. There's a massive light right in our face. So I feel like that's going to make my wife feel a little bit more comfortable. But in case she's not feeling comfortable, I want you to tell her right now that you appreciate her time up here.
John.
It's tough for people.
John.
I love you. I know this.
Oh my God.
She's going to kick my ass later. So whatever.
All right. You ready?
You push the button.
We get asked all the time about how we create a new dish for our menu. Our approaches vary and are a pretty accurate reflection of our personalities and how we approach different situations. I am definitely more methodical, while John sees things through a completely different lens. I think this makes his dishes a lot more creative and pushes our guests to try new things they wouldn't normally eat.
I was once told by a mentor that one should not be defined by the square in which they reside, but instead should define the square by themselves. Meaning when you master classic technique, theory, and ingredients, it becomes inconsequential. Being neurodivergent allows me to see things quite differently, which allows me to approach opportunities from outside that room.
My initial ideas usually come from that time when I'm half awake and laying in bed delaying the inevitable, or while I'm in the shower because that's generally the one time my 3 kids won't ask me 9,000 questions. And sometimes a dessert is born out of necessity, coming up with something special for a wine dinner or specific event.
And in my world, I receive email lists almost like every day, every hour. It happens all the time. And I often see things that strike my fancy, like these artichokes. It's spring right now, and I'm ready to share my love of artichokes with all of my guests. So now we have the main ingredient for ideation. Are my guests ready for this? Can my ragtag kitchen crew knock it out of the park every night?
Once I have the initial idea, I work on the details to make it come to life. I usually start with flavors and follow the rule of 3, which is to use 3 major flavors as the basis of the dessert. My inspiration from flavors comes from what is available from our purveyors or farmers, some new trend I've read about, or sometimes I resort to my favorite flavor combinations if I'm uninspired.
Fat, acid, sodium, and texture are all steps at this stage, but I really need to work out the idea. So the technique, the sauces to accompany, the spices to enrapture, they all play a part at this moment. In my mind, the most important and noteworthy experiences come from being well-rounded. Food is the same. If it's just salty, it's this guy's second term. Sorry.
My next step is to try and figure out what kind of dessert I need. Do I have a lot of creamy stuff on the menu and need to do something cakey or crunchy? Am I missing a dessert that is easily gluten-free and need to steer more in that direction? What sort of dessert lends itself best to the flavors I selected? Is it best as something cold or hot or fatty or crunchy?
So now I'm looking at what needs to come off the menu to make room for this one idea to take shape. This is the wisdom that comes from knowing that our best ideas aren't always a hit with our guests. Taking things off the menu to make room for new ideas allows our egos to take a back seat.
I then go through my recipes. I do a mix of tried and true and new recipes, and recipes that I developed specifically for the dessert. I like to make a list of all the different things that I could possibly put on the dessert, and then narrow it down to the components that create something that's balanced. Something that gives a temperature contrast, something crunchy or soft, some sort of garnish for visual excitement, and something new.
Growing up in New Orleans, I learned to cook so I could eat more of the foods that interested me. That's the starting point here. Practice, like yoga, non-experimentation, because this isn't science. Practice helps us stretch our ideas, our options, and our abilities. Recipe development is just that. Because when the idea works, practice has gotten us there. Gram by gram, cup by cup, and bite by bite.
And sometimes things just don't turn out the way that I dreamed. For my initial run through, I make all components and try everything together. I think about the strengths of the current staff and create the plating style off of that. If we are in a super busy time of year, I may make something more simple with fewer steps. When we are a little slower, I have the opportunity to create desserts that require a little more time.
I've learned that through the practice of cooking and recipe development, theory only goes so far. This one here was a disaster. It worked at home, but in the restaurant, it just is a failure. It took too long, too much space, and nobody really likes eggplant anyway. But if we don't try and we don't share our ideas and don't practice, then it's just this theory, which is for TikTok chefs.
After the initial run through, I will sometimes make adjustments. I usually am pretty happy with things the first time I try them because I try and think things all the way through before I even do them. Usually the adjustments are very minor, like adding another tuile to give height or an additional garnish to give a little more crunch to the dessert.
Now that we've tasted, built, tested, ordered, and trained, we have to inevitably take something away. My sous chef Yuri is often very quick to point it out to me. It's that little piece of something that's on the plate, that little one component that allows us to hide, to take the credit if it's a really cool plate or really good, or it's just too pretty to eat. That's the ego. You have to get rid of it.
When I'm happy with the finished product, I compile all the recipes and plate the dessert for the staff. We usually do a tasting so they can try the dessert and know what they're serving. We review allergies and ways desserts can be modified to fit dietary restrictions. I like to follow up with staff a few days later to see if it's easy to plate during service and if it is selling well and people are liking it.
At the final stage, I work diligently to make sure that we have the staff trained on the new pickups. Because if my staff can't nail it, we need to make a change. But that's easy. The dressings, compound butters, spice blends, finishing textures, all of these things dramatically upgrade a dish that starts off simple. A tweak here, an ingredient change there, a garnish switch, and voila. My team loves it. No stress, no anxiety, no fear. Bullshit. They hate me. Menu changes on busy nights is what a cook is all about. Sure, I'm sure there's a totally better way, but we haven't found it yet. But after talking to all my former cooks who are now chefs themselves, they agree. There's nothing like a lot of pressure to create a lasting memory, and 50% of cooking is muscle memory. This dish came onto the menu like right when we started. It was built as an absolute bullshit dish, and it was meant to be thrown away. It was a holdover until I could add something that I really wanted to put on. That other dish took way more training and way more technique to pull off.
I take a very methodical approach to my desserts, partially because of my personality and partially so I can use my time more efficiently. This is definitely the most fun part of my job, but the one I actually get the least amount of time doing. My favorite part is when I'm working at night and get to see guests enjoying creations that I get to do, because ultimately that's why we do what we do, to make people happy.
Yes, 100% of that. If we don't make you happy, then we're failing. Like a good quarterback, I'm going to take a knee and run the time down.
Sean Russ.
It's true.
That was so great, y'all. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, no. I feel like you're still going to need it. We got an extra mic.
I love it.
Okay.
Well, take it away from him.
I feel like there's so many similarities between y'all and us. You know, you're both creatives. You work together, live together, raise children together, run a household together. It's a lot of together.
Yes.
Like us.
Like us, yes.
And so there are always the joyful moments, and then there are those really difficult moments. Can you share an obstacle you overcame together?
I'm going to let her take this one.
Smart move.
That's a smart man.
She wanted to murder me a few times.
Sean.
I can relate.
Okay, I'll tell you. When we first opened, we were so fucking busy, we couldn't really breathe. And all of a sudden, all the cash deposits ended up in my backpack. There was $35,000 in cash.
For a year and a half.
It was obscene. And then one day it was oh crap.
Because I found them. I got really mad. I was like, I thought you'd been pausing the money this whole time. But we worked through it. I'm not in jail.
and I'm not dead.
No.
Yes.
And that's such a nice surprise to find, I feel like, you know, in a backpack.
That's awesome.
The
Thank you.
backpack that he'd been carrying around everywhere.
Oh, okay, that is scary.
Totally fine.
Totally fine. It's all good. Well, thank you again for sharing your story.
It's our
Congrats.
pleasure. Anytime, y'all. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Y'all, thank y'all.